Hey IED crew, Mr. Yitzen here, and I want to talk about the next summative project that we're all going to be doing here as a collective group of IED students. So we're going to be doing this train project here, and on your screen now should be this train. It's got like 9 parts. Some of them are more difficult, some of them are really quite simple. You see this is old curriculum that used to be in the Project Lead the Way stuff. You can see 2012 here, and was really end of first semester, really the very beginning of second semester type content. So we're kind of, I don't want to say farther back, but because of the pandemic, we are in a new learning environment, and we're transitioning back to something else uh, to put us all on a level playing field appropriate with our level of knowledge of our new software, which is OnShape. So we're going to use this to teach you OnShape. So that being said, in Inventor, you want to start a project. You're going to start a new project file with new project folder and everything. And in OnShape, it's going to be a little bit different. So I assume that you can get to this point where you've gotten signed in and you've gotten here. You're going to go to Create, and we're going to create what they call a new document. And I'm going to call this Train, and let's call it Screencast. So that's my new document, my Train Screencast. And down here on the bottom is, we see a Part Studio and an Assembly. So Part Studio is like, this is like, think of it in Inventor as your IPT file. That's your part file. Your assembly, that's your IAM file. We'll have another one down here that will be our sheet, our drawing. It'll be our IDW file. It's not exactly the same. This program is meant, I think, to more resemble SolidWorks. So anyways, make sure that you do that. When you go, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the train body here in this tutorial right now. And when you go to make another part, you want to make sure that you make the part in this train screencast document. The document is a project folder. We can put multiple parts in this document folder. So let's go ahead and take a look at the train here. In fact, given this, I could, well, now let's just leave it there. I'll go back and forth. So let's take a look at the shape of this thing. We've got just kind of like this general L shape overall. We have the, like we just call it the tank on the front, a circle. We've got another like half circle moon cut out the back there. Let's zoom in just a little bit. We have a curved top here, and it's not called out in this view. We have to go to another view to see that height. So let me just take the dimensions. I think I want to start by drawing out the that kind of L shape over all of it. And it's 5.5 in width. We don't know the height, so I'm just going to throw it up in height. We've got this 1.75 dimension there, and it looks like 2 in depth. So I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to put it on my front view here. I have to navigate to try and get it to where it's square to my front view. And then I'm just going to draw a couple of rectangles, and I'm going to throw some dimensions on there. Let's do some trim first. So trim is the scissors. It's the M is the hotkey there for trim. I'll trim that off like that. Yes, we have 2 lines there, but it should work fine. Let's do some dimensions. I just hit D for dimension, and I got to now click that point and this point, and we said that was 5.5. And oh, I didn't get this dimension right here, so I'm just going to leave that. We'll go back and get that in a minute. I did get from here to there, can I grab that, was 1.75. And I am going to just throw a large dimension on this, something like 6. I know it's less than 6, but that makes it high enough so that I can trim off the rest of it when I need to get there. I need to go back and reference that front one. It is not 1.375, 0.875 there. So 0.875. I hit point twice. There we go. And you can see this is way out of proportion over here, but that's okay. And that's all going to be extruded 2 inches. So I'm going to finish my sketch. And this is the extrude button right there. And you can see Shift E is the hotkey for that. So I'm just going to hit Shift E. And I need to select my range. And I want to extrude that 2 inches. So type in 2. It would make sense right now if I, instead of extruding it in just one direction, I've got a symmetrical part. Why not extrude that right down or symmetrically in both directions? That way I have a plane going right down the middle of it. That will come in handy in just a moment. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is let's get that shape right. So let's get that that top edge here curved in the proper manner. So if I come over here and I need to go to the back edge, we see that there is a hole that we need to put in there. I'll come back and put that in there later. It's 0.375 up, and then from that we've got an arc that is 2.35, and that's defining the top edge there. So I'm going to start a sketch on the back, navigate to that, or that's the right side, and I am going to draw a circle. And I've made sure that the center point was aligned with this, our origin point, and it's snapped on there, so it's aligned vertically with that. Came in automatically. I think, sense that if I click that, or hover over it, you see that there's that one little line that shows up for you there. Let's see, what's the next thing? So once I have that, I just need to put in my dimensions here, and it had a radius of 2.35. So I'm going to dimension that, and instead of putting 2.35, I can put 2.35. I'm dimensioning the diameter here, so I'm going to put times 2, 4.7, and I need to get a dimension from that center point to the bottom of the part itself, and that is 0.375. And there I've got that circle for myself there. Now, some of you are gonna be like, well, you have to draw in this portion above here. We got to draw some amorphous shape above to get this, so we know what to cut away. But I'm going to teach you how to do an intersect here. And if I hit my Shift E for extrude, I want to extrude of all of this. And if I send it the other way, I can say that I want to add that to it, but it's not that I want to add, and it's not that I want to remove. Let's see what happens when I remove. I actually want to do an intersect, and that's going to be anywhere that those two things overlap, and then I want to just go through all. So basically, if I change the length of this thing, so now I've defined that top edge, and then I look anywhere that these two things overlap, it's going to keep those two entities, and so we've just effectively cut anything that's outside of that circle out. So I can hit checkbox, and there we go. I'm going to navigate to the front edge, and I'm going to draw a sketch on this plane, and I'm going to draw that fuel tank, and we see that it has a radius of 0.75, and it's located right down the middle, so it's a good thing we did this thing symmetrically, and in that center point is located 1.375 up. So if I draw a circle, you see I came in and I locked onto that center point, that's that center line, and I'm going to dimension that to be 0.75 times 2, because remember we're putting in a diameter here, and then we are going to dimension this to be 1.375 off the bottom edge there. And now I can finish my sketch. I'm going to hit Shift and E one more time and highlight the region I want to extrude. You see it's going in the wrong direction. It looks like I did something kind of dumb here. I will show how to fix that in a second. I want to go the other direction. So I'm going to flip that. I want to add, and I want to make sure that it goes not blind. That's where you enter a distance. I'm just going to say to next, and it's going to go all the way to there. I could also say to face, up to face, and I could click this face to select. That's where it's going to go to. It just fixed the problem. Just fixed itself. Let me show you the problem here in a second. So let me say no to that. Oh, okay. I see what it was. So let's just extrude it again. It's going to go away. Right now, as it's set to extrude off the front here, those two extrusions aren't meeting in any way, and so it's kind of like creating two different parts. And you can see down here we've got part 1 and part 2 inside of my part studio. I want one single part. So when I send it the other way, I think that just starts to take care of itself. It hasn't yet, but it will. And so I'm going to say just to next. And oh, it says new right here. I want to make sure it's adding. We are adding to the other one. We could make a new solid body. We don't want to do that. You didn't do that in Inventor. There was a command that you could make new solid bodies and have separate solid bodies. We don't want to do that for this. So just make sure you're always adding to it. You can select this merged with all. That will automatically set that to be one part. All right, we've got the pretty much the general shape there. We've got to add some holes now, and let's add the ones on this side. So to do that, you need to, it's not quite as easy as an Inventor now. You have to make a sketch, and I'm going to put just 2 points out here to represent those holes. Those holes are going to be horizontal from each other, so I'm using the horizontal command here. You can type H when you're in sketch mode to get that. Then I'm going to type D to get the dimension, and I do not know the dimension, so we're going to jump over here to another tab. And those are 1/2 inch off the bottom, and it is 1 inch from each side, it looks like. So 0.5, and then I can dimension from that side. I don't want it to be at an angle in any way. There we go. It's going to be 1 inch. And now that I've got this one out there, I'm just actually going to dimension it from the front edge. And that's going to be 4.5. I know it's 5.5 overall. It was actually referencing the back edge. It doesn't really matter here for this one. If you're going for design intent, if something was going to move, yes, you want to make sure you select the back edge for that. I realize that I've got my little picture up here in the upper right hand corner. Your window is, your like view cube is in that area. I need to make sure I keep moving it down so that you can see that. So I've got those 2 points there in the right spot. I can now go to the hole function, and basically just wants me to, I've got a number of different types of holes that I can select. We're just going to do a simple hole here. And we're not going all the way through. I believe there's a depth to it, so I'm going to go to blind, and then I need to go back and read the hole callouts. Oh no, the hole actually has some threading to it. So it has 1/4 inch 20 UNC with 0.875 in depth. So I can get that in there. If I go to, it's a standard custom, if I go to ANSI, we get the 1/4 inch is the size right here. I want to go to a tapped hole. That's going to be give me the threads on that thing. It's going to tell me what the, there's my width on it. This is going to be my depth. I wanted 0.875, and I'm going to go full depth for the. It says number. What is this one? Highlighting tap clearance, number of thread pitch lengths. That's just at the bottom. That's nothing we need to concern ourselves with. I've never seen that in Inventor before. Couldn't I make this 0.875, or does it not let me do that? Oh, it can't thread the whole way through. I'm going to call that good. We'll call that good. Blind, we select those two spots. And it should be putting in some holes there. You don't see any threads on it, but I believe the information will be there for when we do our hole callouts on our drawing. That was just this side. There are two on the other side. So if we navigate over to the other side, you see they're not there. So I'm going to do a mirror function. I'm hovering over it to see if there was a hotkey for it. There's not. So we're going to mirror. And by default, the option is to perform a part mirror. We don't want to mirror the entire part. We only want to mirror a feature. So we're going to go to select a feature mirror. And all we want to mirror is those holes. I could just select, I think, one of them. I'm just going to select both of them at the same time here in my project browser, as we would call it. And then select my mirror plane. And here's another reason why making this thing extrude symmetrically worked well for us. We're going to select that mirror plane, and if I navigate over there to the other side, we now see we've got two holes over there. There's a hole on the back, so let me put that on there. It's actually what's on the right side, it's the back of the train. It is a 1/4 inch hole with a 5-inch or 1/2 inch depth. That's pretty easy. So we're just going to put a dot, make sure it lines up. I believe that was 0.375 off the bottom edge. Boom, boom. So I am done with that sketch. I can click hole, select that one. I do not want an ANSI. I'm just going to go to custom. I just want a simple hole. I want it to be a 1/4 inch in width and 0.25, or not 0.25, 0.5 in depth. And select there. You can see that like there's kind of like that cone feature, that reflection that you see inside of the hole. That's because these are technically like drilled holes. In Inventor, you have a way to make sure that that is a flat bottom if you wanted it to be a totally flat bottom. I don't know exactly how to do it here in OnShape. I've got a fix for the one part that it's key on. So let's just look at a isometric view. I now have to put those 3 holes on the front. Let's sketch and put that there. And we'll zoom into that again. The most annoying feature that I found on this is just that you can't go straight at that one when you or at the plane when you start sketching on it. So here we've got 3 holes, and one is directly above the center line, so that's easy. One is over here and one is over here, and you know what? I am going to draw a construction line just to demonstrate something else right down the middle here, just to make some things easier for myself. Let's look at the dimensions here on the drawing itself, and the one's going right down the middle. It is 0.625 off the bottom edge. These other ones are 1/8 of an inch off the bottom edge, and they are 0.375 from the edge, 3/8 from the edge. So let's put in our height dimensions first. Well, actually, no, let's make these bottom 2 horizontal of each other, so I only have to dimension them one time. And let's also, the reason why I put in that center line was so that I could use the symmetric command and make it such that those two share the same relationship about that center line, so that when I dragged one, I get both of them to move. So I drag one, they both move. Let's throw our dimensions in. I've got, I believe it was 5/8. I've got 1/8 off the bottom. And I had 3/8 off the side here. Come on. It's hard to tell here, but in OnShape, things turn black when you have it fully constrained, fully defined. Let's go take a look at what those holes are calling out for. 1/4 inch in diameter, 1/4 inch in depth, or not quarter, 1/8 of an inch for both of them. So we're going to end our sketch here, and then I'm going to click the hole feature, and I'm going to select all 3 of those holes, and then change these both to 0.125, 0.125, and we are almost done with our train. So the last thing I think that I'm missing this cutout over here, which I could have done on the very original first sketch. Yeah, I just plain forgot. So let's look at that. We've got a semicircle here with a radius of 0.5, and it is offset from that back edge 1/4 of an inch. So hopefully I can get this done before the battery runs out. Let's see. So let's go to this view. Let's do a sketch on here. I'm going to throw a circle on just because I can use some geometric constraints. We'll do a line. I'm going to try and snap onto the top edge of that. Saying tangent and perpendicular. That didn't quite work right, but we can make that be fine in a moment. I'm going to hit the horizontal. All right. Okay, it was tangent. Was it? I don't know what it was perpendicular to. It doesn't look perpendicular to that. It sure doesn't look horizontal either right now. It's close. But they didn't come in tangent either, so I'm going to use the tangent constraint. That's looking better. Let me zoom in. Maybe that was it for both of them, was that they didn't actually come in tangent. There you go. I'm going to trim that off. I hit M for that trim command. And that looks like about the right shape. Let's do some dimensioning. Hit D for dimension. We're going to do 0.5 here. And let me set these equal. E for equal. Let me set this one and this one to be equal. And then back to D for dimension. And now I only have to throw one dimension on there for that of 0.25. I need to get, what did I just type in? Where I typed in 25. 0.25. That looks a little different. I need to figure out where the center is located, like in terms of height. I did not grab that. It's 1.75 off the bottom edge. And then I can extrude that just through all. We're pretty close as it was, 1.75. Not going to see much. Can I hit Shift E when I'm still in? Yep, I can hit Shift E right when I'm in sketch mode. And I want to extrude that shape. And I want to go, I want to remove. It's going to go back the other way. And we're just going to say through all. So instead of blind, we're going to select through all. I also could have sketched this on that plane right down the middle of it and done symmetric as well and through all. All right, now the last thing that we have to do, go visit our drawing and take a look. And I believe just every edge is, oh, we didn't put that hole on the top. I am going to run out of time. Round all the edges and put this hole on the top. I don't have a great way of putting this hole on the top. I need to put a plane on there so I can put my my hole, my point right at the correct spot. So let's show you how to do a plane. I'm not great at them in OnShape, so I'm going to fake one. I'm just going to offset the plane here from top. In Inventor, I can offset the plane and be like tangent to this point, or tangent to this curve and parallel to this plane. I don't know how to do that here in OnShape. So I'm just going to offset and look at my dimensions and get it in the right spot. From here, from the bottom plane to the center of that circle is 1.375, and then to the top of that is another 0.75. I'm just going to use addition and offset this plane. So I'm going to select plane. I'm going to select offset plane. I want to offset this top one, and I'm going to type in 1.375 plus 0.75, and that should give me one that's looking right at the top, exactly at that top point. There you go. I'm going to draw a sketch on that now, and that sketch is going to be just a point. Let's look at it. You can view normal to your sketch here. If I right click on plane 1, and you can say view normal to, it's going to turn so it's facing right at it. Notice the train's vertical now. It is 0.875 right down the center. So I'm just going to put my point, make sure I get that little orange thing so it lines up, and then just dimension it to be 0.875 from that front edge. And now I can put my hole in. Let's look at this like that, and put my hole right there. Let's change the size of this thing. It says that we need to be 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch down. So we're going to put it as 1/2 inch wide and 1/4 inch down. And you see we've got that now going in there properly. Final thing for sure this time is it says that all holes are drilled, which they are, and round all edges to R.1. So we're going to put a fillet on everything. And so if I select fillet, it says radius of 0.2 is my default. I'm going to put 0.1. And instead of selecting edges, I'm just going to select faces, and it will do every face. Now, I can't do that for anything that I have a hole on. I don't want to round any holes. So I have to be selective in the faces that I grab. So I'm going to just select and grab the faces that are that don't have holes on them right now, and then I'll go back and grab edges when I can. So now I am out of faces that don't have a hole on them. So now I need to just grab just edges. And so that's going to be a little bit longer, going to take me some time to grab all those edges. Looks like I got almost everything on that side. These planes are kind of getting in my way in terms of visibility. So I'll show you how to get rid of those in just a second. They are not difficult to get rid of. Looks like I can select that face. I did not yet. I'm zooming around here. It looks like I may have everything. Let me go over here to the side and get rid of. If you click on these little eyeballs, the planes go away. Well, they don't go away. Their visibility goes away. So I've got one more plane in here. I'm not seeing it listed. Okay, whatever. I can turn off the visibility if I highlight it, but I'm not really seeing it. So let's move that. And I am not seeing anything that I have missed. So there you go. Last couple of things. Let's go ahead and finish that. That looks good. I want to make sure, this should have done this right at the beginning. I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to rename my part. I'm going to call this train body. In fact, I want you guys to use your initials because we're going to turn these in, we're going to share them. So I'm going to do CY underscore train body. And then I also, I don't really understand exactly how OnShape is working here. That's you naming that part studio. And I want to come over here to this part where it says part, and I'm going to do a few things in here. I'm going to rename it as the same thing there as well. So cy underscore train body. And also on that, I am going to go to edit appearance. I can change that color to something pretty. I can assign a material. It says that everything in this is ABS plastic. So I can come in here. I think I can probably type in ABS. And I'm just going to type in ABS. There's a couple of different types. I'm just going to do just generic ABS plastic. And now I have those material properties defined. If I highlight on my part itself, down here in the lower right hand corner, I get this like little scales of justice thing that pops up, and if I click on it, I get the mass properties of the entire part itself. So yours should have a volume of 20.215 and a mass of 0.768 if you're making it out of ABS plastic. There you go. When you want to make a new part, so let's say that we wanted to go ahead and make this stack here. Do not go create another document. You're going to come down here to insert new element, and we're going to say create part studio. We're going to make another part inside of this project file inside of this document.